Hi 678ers, we're so excited to have you here for 678 Live. Remember, text all your friends, tell them to get on right now so we can get this party started. I need you guys to make sure when Rothan is teaching, please do not talk in the chat. Other than that, we're gonna have a great time tonight.
It's time for another face-off challenge. Now, these are those challenges that are between Devin, Dylan, Sam, and myself, where we have to do crazy things, and you guys kind of get to decide who wins. So let's see who's playing today. Sam. And Rothan. Okay? What we're doing today is Sam and I guess, are gonna build cardboard boats using cardboard boxes and duct tape, and we're gonna race them on Grace's pond. Let's see how this goes.
Rothan, what's your game plan for this?
Okay. So I think I want it to look like a canoe. So I'm gonna go like this, and I think I'm gonna cut this one here too, and it's gonna be like a pointed front, pointed back canoe. I'll tape up the bottoms, put a trash bag liner on the inside, and hope that I don't sink.
All right, Sam, what's your strategy with your boat?
I brought some tools with me that I think will be pretty useful. So right now I'm sort of surveying my inventory, seeing what I got. Looks like a lot of cardboard. And we're gonna make the most of it. My main strategy is to just stay on top of the water. I think once you start sinking in, the water gets in the boat and you sink, that's when you realize you got a bad boat. So we're gonna avoid that at all costs. So I think the most important part about a boat is your base. And Rothan's got some coffin thing going on over there. I don't know if he's planning a funeral, but I got myself a nice boat base so far. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work from the ground up, as most good businesses and people do. And I'm gonna build myself a base. After that, it's all just appearance at that point.
People want to know, what do you think about Rothan's shirt?
About Rothan's shirt? Well, I think he brought that out to intimidate me, to show that, you know, he's so experienced in boat building that, yeah, he's been doing this for years. Obviously that swag shirt must be 10 years out of date. So I think that's an experience play on his part, but I'm not scared in the slightest.
Rothan, what do you have to say about Sam's comments on your swag shirt?
For one, at one point this shirt was incredible. Number two, I think we all know at some point today I'm gonna end up in a pond, right? And so I had to pick my clothes accordingly. The last thing I want to say is there's a music video online of me singing wearing this shirt, and if you can find it, I will award you 1,000,000 like points. So go ahead and look for that as you're browsing through the internet.
All right, Sam, go ahead and update us on what you're doing with your boat.
So, like I said, main thing was a base. So as you see, base right here. And then this is just the shell. So really this is all cosmetic at this point. So I might clear off these flaps and sort of build more support. This is where I'll be sitting. I think it's gonna work. I don't see why it wouldn't. Cardboard floats, humans float. So put two and two together. I mean,
This is my boat. I just finished going and filling every, or taping over every crack and seam along the bottom, along the sides, also on the inside. I'm gonna be sitting here. This weight protection, obviously, I'm able to balance my weight if I have to lean back, lean forward, side to side, very roomy. In fact, I could bring a friend if I'd like to. I'm feeling good. Okay, so my boat's done. I had to take some of these like panels off to make sure that the bottom was completely covered. And then I put this trash bag over top of all of it, put that over top of a full layer of tape that goes from the bottom all the way up to here, all the way around the boat. So I'm thinking I'm pretty waterproof. I'm thinking I've got a good design. I'm a paddle fast. I did fake Boy Scouts for 3 years, and so I think my chances are high.
So, as you can see here, this is a boat, obviously. Full bottom, covered in duct tape. That's not something you'll see on my competitor's boat. I've been to Lake Erie a couple times, so I know a thing or two about boats. Yeah, this reminds me of one of those. So I think we're gonna float, and I think this is gonna last me a long time. I might actually just take this with me on vacation next time. Don't even have to rent a boat or a jet ski or anything because I got this guy with me. So the SS duct tape is set for sale.
So the word going on around here is that there's 2 local people that are trying to swim upon our waters.
And we're just not gonna have that. Can't have a boat race without a couple of pirates.
Yeah!
Dylan, over here.
Yeah!
Okay, so we're about ready to do this thing. This is my design. That's Sam's design. I'm not gonna lie, either that's pure genius or he will sink immediately, is my opinion.
I just want to make it clear that some people were walking around my boat with very sharp pencils. And so if it sinks, I'm not saying that's the reason why, but I'm not saying it's not the reason that's not why.
I have not held a pencil in 12 full years, guaranteed.
When you bought that swag shirt, you bought a pack of pencils to go
At the
with
same
it.
time, at the same time.
So we got some Spam cannonballs to throw at them, and some sardines.
Some sardines.
That thing floats.
I'm aiming for mouths. I'm gonna be honest here.
If that hits me in the face, I'm gonna throw the oar at you. I'm gonna get out of my boat and throw it at you.
My feet are getting so dirty.
We're gonna both hit the bottom of this pond. The bottom of your feet are getting dirty. Still good. Still good.
Oh my god!
It's still going. It's still going.
Man down!
Oh!
It's gonna work. Okay. It's a full body boat. You gotta go head first. Oh god! That got in my mouth a little bit.
You guys aim for the mouth.
No, gosh, no. Wait, Sam, where are you? Is it? It's just me. No.
Oh.
Does this count as floating? This part's up. This corner's perfectly dry. This corner's perfectly dry.
It's just the seaweed.
Yeah, it's It's the seaweed's problem. That's what did it for me too. No! That's in my ear. That one went in my ear.
Mine was a float
What's on your left ear?
longer.
Is it alive? Is it something living? Is it an animal?
No. Do you see it?
Maybe a leech.
Maybe it's a leech.
Like where your
Oh, in the front.
area? There you go. What's that?
I don't know.
So the object here was to see who would win between Sam and Rothen, but I think we both know who the winners were.
Okay guys, now it's game time, and we're gonna play a game called Dad Facts. Each of us are gonna give you facts about one of our dads, and there's gonna be a picture, and you have to guess whose dad it is.
Which one of our dads has been to over 100 concerts, had a pet skunk while he was growing up, and fell into a buffalo exhibit at a zoo?
This dad served in the military, ran a marathon in 3 hours, and doesn't have a middle name. What dad is it?
This dad's middle name is Donald. He'll throw up if he accidentally eats a tomato, and he was on a local cooking show.
This dad is a fire chief. He went to space camp and he went bald at 18 years old. So we have a lot of great dads here in 678. So we wanted to take today, Father's Day, and celebrate those dads a little bit. So here's a message to all you 678 dads from your kids.
Why do you love Papa?
Because he lets me ride a tractor. Because it's more than gentle.
Bodie, why do you love Papa?
Good.
Barry Nelson is my dad. He is probably one of the funniest, sarcastic people you have ever met in your life, or at least he likes to think he is. I love my dad so much. He is always there pushing me. He has always been somebody that I can just go and talk with about anything. He really is somebody that I look up to and will love my future husband to be. Happy Father's Day, Dad. I love you.
My husband Barry is a great man. He is a great father and also a great grandfather. First of all, he loves Jesus and he leads our family with love and grace just like God gives us. And he sets a great example for our daughters as to what kind of man they should be looking for in a husband. He is someone who, there are no his jobs and her jobs. He probably has changed as many diapers as I have with my daughters, and now the same thing with our grandsons. He is a hands-on kind of dad and grandpa, and we are very blessed to have him in our lives. Happy Father's Day.
Jackson, what do you love about Dad?
I love Dad because he's like really funny and nice, and he's like a friend.
JP, what do you love about Dad?
I love Dad because he's funny, kind of fixes everything, and I just like living with him.
Hey Dad, happy Father's Day. Even though I'm not with you right now, I wish you a happy Father's Day. You are an awesome father. Doing all of this, you've been coming home and still being able to spend time with us and playing around, and I just love you so much. Happy Father's Day.
I love Daddy playing the dice game with me. And I love you and teaching me how to play trash.
Yeah?
And I love that Dad loves sports just as much as I am, so he helps me improve in sports. I love you, Dad.
I love you. I love you too.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. I love my dad because he takes me to Michigan games. He's really nice and outgoing. I like to do fun stuff with him.
I love my dad because he always is just trying to push us to be the best we can be, and he loves us a lot.
I love my dad because he's always trying to fix our house to make it look great.
I love my dad because he's super kind and caring and knows how to make me laugh, but also shows Jesus through everything he does.
I love my dad because he's always there to give me a lending hand and pick me up when I'm down.
I love my dad because he's very kind, courageous, and loving.
I love my dad because he volunteers for anything that I participate in.
I love my dad because he watches spooky movies with me. I love my dad because no matter who's performing or where the concert's at, he always takes me, no questions asked.
And I love my dad because he's always just one call away. And if I ever need anything, I can count on him.
We love you, Dad.
I think Lance is special because he is very funny, he is very nice, and he is very smart. Happy Father's Day.
Happy
Father's Day.
We love our dad because he supports us in everything we do. He's always there when we need him.
He's so much fun.
Happy Father's Day.
We love our dad because he is
Caring,
loving,
funny,
and supportive.
I love my daddy because he practices sports with me and he snuggles me. I love my daddy because he plays Nerf guns with me and he helps make dinner.
Hey Eddie, happy Father's Day. Thanks for taking such good care of your girls. We love you so much.
Bye!
Hey 678ers, before we get into what we're talking about today, I just want to say again, happy Father's Day to all of your dads, to all of our 678 leaders who are dads. Thanks for being awesome and for telling the best jokes. Well, we're in this big picture series, we have been for the last couple of weeks, where we're looking at the life of Joseph. And what we're looking at are these little pieces and parts of Joseph's life that when you look at only that, it doesn't seem that awesome. It's painful, it's confusing, it just looks downright bad. But when you zoom out and you get to see the whole picture, you get to see something really awesome. And you get to see God uniquely working in his life to make a really awesome big picture. And so that's what we've been talking about. And before we get to this snapshot of Joseph's life today that we're going to be talking about, I want to ask you a question. How often do you do good things? How often do you do the right thing? Think about it for a second. I don't know about you. I know that I think I probably do the right thing most of the time. At least like 50-50, right? Like I feel like I'm pretty good. I can remember a time though when I didn't make the right decision. I knew the right decision that I should have made. I definitely knew that what I wanted to do wasn't the right decision, but I chose to do that anyways. When I was in 7th grade, I remember being in my first period class and remembering that in my second period class, we were going to have a science test. Now, my science teacher, Mr. Wise, he always did this thing with us that if we completed the review sheet that he gave us, which most of the time was like vocab, he would give us 3 extra points on our test. Now, when it comes to me and science, I always need those points. Always. And I remember in my first period literature class, my friend sitting right next to me, her name was Danny. She had finished the assignment that we were given in that class, and she pulled out the review sheet and she started going over it. And I looked over and I said, "No, Danny, is that today? Is today the day of the test?" And she said, "Yes." And I immediately closed my literature book and I pulled open my review sheet and I didn't have anything written on it. Now, here's the thing. I knew that Danny had a crush on me. Danny looked over at me and saw my paper, and I looked over at Danny and said, "Do you mind helping me out?" I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. I knew that the right thing to do actually was to continue to do my literature homework and to go into science class having not done the review sheet because I didn't earn it. I didn't do the work to complete the review sheet and to not get those points. I knew that that was the right thing to do. But instead I asked Danny if she would cheat for me. If she would write her answers that she had on her review sheet on my review sheet. In the middle of all of that, our literature teacher catches us and she throws all the books off of Danny's desk and she kind of picks us up and sends us into the hall and we get yelled at, and it was a disaster. Here's what I know. I knew the right thing to do. I just didn't want to do it. Because sometimes in the moment when we look at doing the right thing, it usually costs us something. You know that the right thing to do is to be honest with your parents or your teachers or your coach. But you know that if you tell them the thing that you did, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get grounded. You're going to get a detention. You're maybe not going to be able to be on the team anymore. You know the right thing to do when your parents ask if you can babysit your younger siblings is to say yes. In that case, doing the right thing means that you're probably going to be annoyed for the evening or that you have less freedom that evening to do the things that you wanted to do. You know that if a guy asks you out and you're not allowed to have a boyfriend, that the right thing to do is to say no. But you feel like that might cost you the friendship or the relationship you have with him. You know the right thing to do is to talk about the conflict that you might feel in a friendship. But you're afraid that doing that right thing might cost you conflict that you don't want to walk through. The list goes on and on. All of us can think of times when we knew the right thing that we should do and we didn't do it because sometimes the right thing was the hard thing. Now, sometimes the right thing is the easiest thing. It's a thing that makes the most sense. Maybe it's even the thing that we kind of chose to do immediately. But sometimes the right thing isn't the easiest thing to do. Sometimes the right thing is the hardest thing to do. So if we can agree that we should try to always do the right thing, but sometimes the right thing can be the hardest thing for us to choose to do, What can we do right now? What can we put into place? What knowledge can we have to help us always choose to do the right thing in the future? What can we put in place to help us see the bigger picture? Well, let's jump back into Joseph's life. Now, we've been getting these little pictures of circumstances and things that have happened to him, but we're fortunate. We have the whole Bible. We get to see all of Joseph's story. We get to see the big picture. We get to see how God was with him and how God was working. And we ultimately get to see the ending of that super awesome thing that God was able to do through Joseph and why he had to be where he was. But Joseph, as he was living it, he didn't get to see that. Right now, up to the point where we've read or we've studied together, we see that Joseph had a big family and his brothers didn't like him. And they just beat him up and they robbed him of his robe and they threw him in a pit and left him for dead. That's what we talked about last week. Well, they ended up deciding not to kill him, and instead they sold him into slavery. And so there were these kind of slave traders going through. They sold their brother to them. They took him, those slave traders took Joseph to Egypt. While he was there, he gets picked up by this guy named Potiphar. And he becomes a servant for Potiphar, sold as a slave to Potiphar. Think about telling Joseph right now to look at the bigger picture, saying God's with you and God's going to do something incredible. Up until now, his life hasn't been that awesome, and it's even going to get worse. So before we get into the verses we're going to read, let me give you a little bit more context. Joseph is now in Potiphar's house as a servant, but he's doing really well. And Potiphar and him kind of build this relationship where Potiphar trusts Joseph with literally like everything in his household. And so Joseph gets to kind of grow in status, and he's still a servant, but he's a servant with a lot of responsibilities and a lot of trust. It sounds like maybe his life is turning around. It sounds like maybe things are finally starting to go his way. Well, let's see what happens. If you have your Bibles, go ahead and get them up. We're still in the book of Genesis, chapter 39. I'm going to start reading in verse 6. It says this: Now Joseph was well built and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." Okay, let's break this apart a little bit. So the Bible goes out of its way to say Joseph was a good-looking dude. Just imagine someone who looks like me. They said Joseph's a good-looking dude. He's doing work at Potiphar's house. Potiphar's wife, the person who he is serving, the person who he's kind of built this relationship with, that person's wife says, "Come to bed with me." Says, "Let's do things that I should only do with my husband." Think of the situation that put Joseph in. If we were to put this in some present day context, think about this. Think about the person that your best friend is talking to or is dating, shoots you a text, wants to hang out with you one-on-one, doesn't want your best friend to know about it. That invitation is an invitation to do something that you know isn't right. The same is true for Joseph. He knew that that invitation was not a good one, that it was bad, that it would only lead to bad things. And while Joseph could have given in to the temptation, could have taken that as a compliment of, wow, she thinks I look good, I should feel good about that. Instead of letting that kind of puff him up, he saw it for what it was. He knew that that was a bad decision, and he knew he needed to make the right decision. So let's see what Joseph's response was. But he refused. "With me in charge," he told her, "my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. Instead of giving in to Potiphar's wife's invitation, instead of making the wrong decision, Joseph made the right decision. He decided to do what was right, not just one time, but over and over and over again. Now, you'd think Joseph did the right thing, so probably everything worked out for him in the end, right? He did everything he was supposed to do. He ran from the temptation. He didn't give it a second thought. He continued to stay strong in his resolve to say, "No, that is not good for me. I don't want that. I'm going to continue to do what's right." You would think that his reward would be all things good. Eventually, Potiphar's wife got so upset with him that he wouldn't take her up on her invitation that one time she grabbed a hold of him. Joseph, knowing this was not a good situation, ran out of the room, but she still had a hold of his robe.
So then she brought that robe to Potiphar, said, Joseph was making advances on me. He was being inappropriate. I had to yell for help, and then he started to run away, and all I have left is his robe. And then do you know what happened? Joseph was thrown in jail. Doing the right thing actually cost Joseph his freedom. That's definitely not the happy ending that you would expect. The truth is, sometimes doing the right thing gets you applause and approval and all of this good attention. Sometimes doing the right thing brings about a cost that just seems completely unfair. But Joseph did the right thing because he had integrity. And doing the right thing, regardless of the cost, is the definition of integrity. Joseph didn't know that doing the right thing was going to land him in prison. And I don't know if Joseph knew while he was in prison that God was still working on creating this incredible big picture. But Joseph didn't need to know those things because Joseph had integrity. And he knew that his job was just to do the right thing because Joseph knew that his job was to do the right thing no matter what. That's what we can learn from Joseph. That's what we can try to do in response to this story that we read about Joseph in the book of Genesis. We can say no matter what, our job is to do the next right thing. It is literally impossible for me to say that and not think of Frozen 2, which arguably I think was better than Frozen 1. But it's really true and very helpful, and it's the right information. Maybe for some of you, you go, I need help making the right choices. When I have the opportunity to do the wrong things, I take them. Maybe some of you go, when I'm in the middle of the temptation, when I'm in the middle of the opportunity to go either way, sometimes it's difficult for me to even know the right thing for me to do, to even acknowledge what is the next right thing. First, you need to look at your situations. Look at the relationships that you're in. Look at the things that you've done or are about to do, maybe the conversations that you've just had or the conversations that you need to have. And think, am I doing what I should be doing? Is there something better that I could be doing? Am I hurting someone with the choices I'm about to make? Is there a way I can help whoever that other person is? Honestly, look at your situations. And then the second thing, find the next right thing to do. Do you need to apologize to someone? Do you need to have a tough conversation? Do you need to stop doing something? Do you need to start doing something? Identify what that next right thing is. And then, this is everyone's homework for this week, find one person and tell them what it is. Maybe it's going to be a parent. Maybe it's going to be a small group leader. Maybe it's going to be a friend. But tell them, hey, this is what I plan on doing this week to do the next right thing in this situation. Will you ask me in a week if I've done it? Will you follow up with me? If I need help doing it, will you be able to help me? Get someone to be on your team specifically around doing the next right thing. I remember some advice that I was given when I had just started working here at our church, and I was married, and I was newly married to Lamaru, and I remember I was new in this job, and I had this person who I looked up to who said to me, whenever I don't know what to do, I ask myself the question, what would the best fill in the blank do in this situation? He said, if I need to step into a conversation with my wife, I think to myself, what would the best husband do in this situation? If I have to have a conversation or respond to my parents, I think, what would the best son do in this situation? He said, if I have to do something with my job and I'm unclear, I would think, what would the best pastor do in this situation? And I remember thinking about that, and for some reason, for me, it's helpful. It kind of gets me outside of being stuck in my situation, and it helps me come to the right conclusion, even if it's not the conclusion I want, because it means it's going to take more from me to do the right thing. Maybe what you need to do if you need help thinking is to ask yourself the question, what would the best friend do? What would the best child do? What would the best teammate do in this situation? And maybe that question alone will help you find the next right thing. Remember, you should operate your life with integrity. And integrity is doing the next right thing no matter the costs. So when you can't see the bigger picture in life, do the next right thing. We're not going to go to our groups because it's Father's Day. I hope that you've spent some time celebrating your dad today, but there is still that homework assignment that I've given you. This week, find a person, tell them how you're going to take a step into doing the next right thing, and make sure that's someone who can help you and can keep you accountable to do it. Thanks so much for hanging out this week. We'll see you next time.